Joining me now, Paul Theron from Vestat. You've written in your notes here, drachmatic weekend.
It's such a weak pun. I don't know. Hasn't it been used before?
No, actually, I've never used it before.
So people
but
are saying
like
it's going to be a drachmatic weekend, meaning that, it's talk market noise about Greece and the Eurozone and so on and so forth.
Apparently there are rumours that Greece could be defaulting, but Peter Todd said that you could only default if you don't pay on your payments, but perhaps it would be a voluntary default, an announcement of some sort, but the Greek government has already denied this for the millionth time.
Exactly, and even though there's this German who's on the ECB, Jürgen Stark, who's moved out, I keep coming back to the point that I make in relation to Europe, and that is that the consequences, I agree absolutely with Stephen Kossef there a moment ago, the consequences for any nation, as well as for the balance of nations, of a major default with a knock-on effect on the banks and the insurers, doesn't make sense. But at the same time, it's politically difficult to grasp the nettle. So you can see why people are trying to work their way around the problem. But I'd be very surprised if we're going to have a drachmatic weekend. I'm sure it's going to be business as usual.
Maybe the rugby will offer a drachmatic weekend. Who knows?
Yes, that's why I'm wearing, for non-South Africans, the silly outfit.
$447 billion. Do you think that's enough to sort out the negative sentiment with regards to job losses and job creation in the US?
Look, the people who I follow who talk about economic policy issues are saying that Obama's inputs yesterday were surprisingly positive from an economic point of view, but they see difficulties with regard to getting this thing approved because, of course, we know Republicans and Democrats are at each other's necks all the time. So I'm not sure that just standing there and saying that he thinks Congress ought to pass this means that it's going to happen. So for my money, I'm thinking, it's probably just going to be part of the electoral tussle now that we get into between Obama and the rival Republican candidate, of which there are many very amusing candidates lining up to take Barack Obama on next year.
G7. Another weekend of politicians and leaders meeting to discuss a way forward. And you'll remember that we've seen at these meetings coordinated moves being announced and interesting things. Do you think that this could come round this time round as well?
No, I think the only people who take G7 meetings seriously, and G20 meetings seriously for that matter, are the people that actually get to fly with the ministers to the destinations. My expectations with regard to that meeting are very low. In other words, I'm not expecting anything to come out of that of any significance.
And Investec, let's touch on that. You were listening in on the Stephen Kossef interview. Your sense on evolution investments? Yes.
Yeah, it's true, again, what he said, that it's a business that's been growing over the years. It's focused, obviously, in Australia and the UK. I like it, and I love the management team. I think he's fabulous. It's just that banks are not a particularly great investment theme at the moment, and we know why, is because they were accused of all sorts of bad things in 2008 and 2009, and now the regulatory burden and the capital burdens are so much higher. But I suppose at some point, like in 10 years' time, banking could be a good space to be in again.
Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us. You're awfully tall today. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you in studio.